All right. Hello, everyone. This is Bad Art Boy, and today we are playing Suzerain. Now, the introduction is gonna be a little bit long. I just need to listen to myself speak. Test, test, test. This is weird. Oh, no, okay, test, test. One, two, three. Yeah, something is not working right with my volume. That's weird. Hold on a second. Test, that. There we go. Test, 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 test. One, two, three. Okay, this was weird. All right, so right off the bat, we're not starting the stream on the right foot. We're not starting the stream. Why is it this way? Why is it like so? Usually it's better. Mm, this is very discouraging indeed. Very discouraging. Very, very, very discouraging. Hey there, Nestor. What's up? There we go. Hey there, test that. Okay, fuck it, fuck it. Let's go with whatever this is. I'm already struggling with a lot of things. First things first, I have a bird besides me that might decide to start screaming at any second because he's a little asshole. A cute one at that, though. Second thing, second, you might notice that my voice is a little bit different, especially with the s and the sh sounds. And that's because I recently got braces for my lower jaw, so let's try and ignore that. All right, for your own sake and mine. And third thing, third, something isn't right with my mic today. What the fuck? Test, test, like usually the sound is louder. Maybe, maybe I fucked up with some of the settings. Let's see. Yeah, right off the bat, this like I'm late. I'm late to the stream, to starting the stream, and I'm late getting the stream going. This is such a shitty way to start a stream. I'm telling you that much. Mm, let's see. Test, 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 testing, testing, test, test, test. What the fuck is going on with it? What the hell? Okay, if at any moment my voice is not comprehensible, please tell me in the chat. Please notify me. I need to be notified about that. because usually the voice is louder. Maybe it's the braces, and maybe I'm just imagining stuff. Maybe I'm usually louder because I don't have the braces on. I don't know. But let's uh, let's go with the massive volume a bit. Okay. So, Suzerain finally starting the fucking stream. Suzerain is, as most of you know, is a political simulator, which is more of like a story-driven political simulator. You are the president of Sorland. Oh, there's also the DLC where you become a prisoner. But you are the newly elected president of Sorland, trying to, get shit on the right track. And I've always wanted to play a Nasserist run. Let me see. All right. And I always wanted to play a Nasserist run. I'm going to explain what this run will entail, because a lot of people will have a lot of misconceptions about it, and I'd rather people not have misconceptions about it. All right? Okay. All right. Let's see this one. So let's start with let's start the story. All right. 73 million recession, regional influence, major power. Yes. We are starting the story. I thought I could change how my president looked, but honestly, let's keep him the way he is. You are my enslavement and my freedom. You are my flesh burning like a raw summer night. You are my country. And by the way, Sorland is based on Turkey. Alright, this is how we start the game. We pick up what we are in this world, what kind of person we are in this world. And we're going to try and recreate Gamal Abdel Nasser in this. So, if memory serves right, his mother's side were well off. His father was a public servant in the post office, I believe. So if we are to compare them, like compare early 20th century Egypt to 1950s Jordan, hey there, Amanda. I'd go with a middle income family in the city of Holsor. I mean, he did grow up in Alexandria, even though he's from the Egyptian side. Nah, I'm not going with a family. Let's go with a middle income. Your parents named you Anton. As the only child of a diligent civil servant, you lived quite an ordinary childhood. Life was not bad. You were lucky enough to attend a well-known public school, but frequent fights broke out at the Rain family home, which made you feel uneasy, which also tracks with Abdul Nasser's family. During a history class at school, the bell started to ring unexpectedly. You heard a loud commotion outside. As everyone tried to figure out what was going on, the principal announced a historic revolution. The kingdom was no more, the Republic of Sorland was born. You were happy that you were you did not fully understand. Let's go with this. I mean, you were happy that the monarchy went down would be a very nice thing, but let's go with this. After graduating, you passed the university exam with high marks. You had the opportunity to choose between several studies. You choose. Okay, so Abdel Nasser initially wanted to always go into the officer corps. However, he couldn't go in without having certain connections at the time. So until he managed to get these connections to get into the officers corps, he went into law school. So let's go for law at the Whole Source State University. During the first year, you attended a lecture with David Whiskey. He was a well-known diplomat from the foreign ministry and the son of the president. After observing the hall in silence, he explained how the Supreme Court is obstructing justice in Sorland. He stated that laws should be applied fairly and that even the members of the Supreme Court are subject to the same laws. He agreed in principle. Soldiers entered the campus in the evening ahead of the first election. Many were in shock as the uniformed men created a security cordon and started arresting the teachers. A group of students started gathering in protest, along with your best friend, Peter Vector. Decided to protest with the students as a very Nasserist thing to do, like a very Nasser thing to do. One of the officers made a loud announcement that echoed through the campus. General Luderin declared martial law in order to restore the administration. Please stand back and disperse to your rooms. He joined the students that slowly marched towards the large group of soldiers. Suddenly, the soldiers charged. A student fell and was trampled as everybody started running away. You held your ground. The soldiers beat you relentlessly. It was an only test. The arrested teachers were replaced by those that promoted conformism to the state. The whole sort turned a blind eye to the things that were happening. You didn't want to stay idle. You decided to join a human rights group, a student council, a political debate club. I'd go with a student council because the Nasserist Abdel Nasser established in 1965 a group known as the Arab Vanguard. The Arab Vanguard was effectively the secret organization that carried the true Nasserist principles and were supposed to prepare revolutionary cadres throughout the Arab world so that when the time for popular protest come, when people decide to revolt against their government, the Arab Vanguard will send their cadres to lead the revolt, to organize and lead the revolt. So let's go. And their main reach at the start was among students. So we go with the student council. The council was focused on increasing the student involvement in the campus along with partaking in the budget. Through active participation, you gain budget management and leadership skills. In one of the meetings, Peter Vector introduced you to a classmate of his, Monica. You were immediately attracted to her intelligence, her beauty, her diligence. Hmm. I don't know much about Abdul Nasser and his wife. Let's go with diligence. Because his wife stood by him throughout it all. She mentioned to you that she was a volunteer for the Swedish League of Women, an organization campaigning for women's rights. You told her you wholeheartedly supported her cause, weren't particularly interested in women's rights, but asked her to dinner nonetheless. And now we support the cause. The politically charged environment led you to join the Red Youth, the Socialists, join the Young Swords, the Nationalists, stay away from any political organization. Okay, so there's a lot of controversy regarding this move. Abdel Nasser in his youth, some believe he joined the Young Egypt organization, which was a nationalist organization. Some say he joined the Muslim Brotherhood for a while. But generally speaking, Abdel Nasser did not commit to any political organization at the time in his youth, and it was only after he founded the Free Officers Movement that he committed to an organization. So we'll stay away from any political organization in its youth. The radio relayed that the communist general Ricard surrounded Ludren and his troops, demanding their surrender. They refused, and heavy fighting broke out across the country. Just couldn't believe it. The army was fighting among themselves. Saarland plunged into chaos. The clashes escalated into a full-blown civil war. The horrors made you isolate yourself for a while. Monica helped you cope, and love grew between the two of you. However, it was a difficult time for love. The chaos had to end. The charismatic Colonel Tarkin Sol orchestrated a sudden attack on the capital where the Ludernist and Ricardist forces were battling each other. He defeated both, ending the war. A new constitution was written, and the military government began efforts to restore stability. Many people saw the colonel as a savior. He formed the United Sorland Party and ran as a presidential candidate in the first ever single party election. And you voted for the United Sorland Party. Yeah, that tracks. USP won the election by a large majority. The military government announced a 4-year restoration period to transform to an entirely civilian government. After graduation, you kept seeing Monica. You were both interested in marrying and starting a family. However, a letter arrived from the military calling you to fulfill your compulsory service. It was time to serve your national duty. Devastating civil war from neighboring Wellen quickly turned into a proxy war between regional and world powers. Distinguished Major Joseph Lancia ordered you to lead your squad on a border patrol mission. It was a very cold winter night when you began marching out of Cameron Outpost. You could see your breath. After several hours of marching through the snowy hills, distant noises were heard. Visibility was too low to confirm the source, so the squad crawled forward in formation and found a spot to observe. A group of refugees had made it beyond the border fence. You let them slip through, or escorted them back. Well, Abdel Nasser was a human, he favored humanity above all, so let them slip through. After the patrol, Major Lancia arrived with anger and immediately relieved you of your command, calling you a disappointment. One of your squad members had reported your actions. After several months of scrubbing the floors as a punishment, your duties ended and you went back to civilian life. Not very dignified, but, you know, the moral upper hand. You and Monica decided to share your lives together. After receiving the blessings of her parents, a ceremony was held in Wholesome. During the same year, you worked hard to secure a high paying job within the governing USP. It was a much more difficult to start your career on a good foot because of the refugee incident, but you still managed. Working for the ruling party was the easiest path to power. The financial compensation was too great to pass up. It was the best opportunity to change the country for the better. That's what Nasser would say. You became the legal assistant to one of the more experienced members of assembly. You worked long and hard, going through hundreds of pages of legal documents late into the night. You were climbing the ladder. Tarkin's soil gave amnesty to the remaining factions of the Civil War and shows de-escalation and appeasement. The institutions and symbols of the former kingdom were slowly replaced. His government launched several new initiatives, such as a citizens-funded bills program to revitalize the economy, a social labor initiative to help rebuild and improve society, and a large dam project to solve the energy crisis. The first multi-party elections in the history of Shoreland were held. President Tarkin Sol was elected once more. The ongoing legal battle between the Justice Ministry and the Supreme Court put you under a lot of stress. But your significant contribution to the legal case triggered an invitation to meet President Tarkin Sol himself. Offered you a key position. You were to become the youngest member of Assembly. You accepted right away. You accepted with doubts. Let's say we accepted with doubts. As the youngest MP, it was difficult to connect with the influential inner circle. You needed allies. You brought on Peter Vector as your right-hand man. The birth of your son Frank provided a brief moment of joy and relief. You sacrificed work to spend time with your family, sacrificed family time to improve your position in the party. So Abdel Nasser was a man that managed to, you know, have a work-life balance at the cost of his own health. Like he'd work for like 14 hours a day as president, and then come home to his family and eat with them and have fun with them and all of that, and be involved in his son's and his children's lives. So let's say let's go with this one because Abdel Nasser was a family. During your absence, Peter Vector found trustworthy contacts and strengthened your position in the party. At the same time, President Sol increased his authority over the years. His growing ego started to cause strife within the USP. Perhaps rightly so. President Sol barely secured a majority in the election against the opposition leader. The next year, the Swedish people grew increasingly discontented with corruption and the worsening quality of life. Economic growth was slowing down. Meanwhile, calls for a united Solon Party Congress became louder as a leadership struggle started to brew. You watched from the sidelines, kept supporting the president. You watched from the sidelines. It's all part of like the intrigue and the plotting because after all, Abdel Nasser plotted a whole ass military coup. Contender for party leadership was Ewald Alfonso. I fucking hate the names in this game. They're so weird. A reformist and talented business magnate with a growing follower base within the party. Meanwhile, in a desperate effort to your votes for the Congress, President Sol was meeting party members one by one. He approached you too. The President offered you the position of Minister of Justice and Law in the next government. Did you back him in the upcoming vote? Hmm. Do we accept or do we reject? I mean, as a Minister of Justice, one can do a lot of things. No, fuck it. Let's say we accept. Congress was nothing short of impressive. The banners of the United Stolen Party were decorating every possible spot. Thousands of influential political figures, lobbyists, and benefactors gathered for the turning point. The voting for the party leadership began. You voted for Sol. Unfortunately, Sol lost his leadership vote to Alfonso by a small margin. During the Congress, Sol announced he would retire from politics at the end of his term and appointed Alfonso as vice president. The systems he had established were to stay much longer. His achievements wouldn't be forgotten. You were happy that Sol was finally leaving, but everybody didn't care about who was in charge. Let's go with this middleman. Like, we supported him, but we were glad he was leaving. Let's go with this. A month later, your daughter was born. Monica named her Diana. She motivated you during a tumultuous period in the party. As the VP and the leader of the USP, Alfonso began dismantling the old organizations and structures established by the USP, such as the State Educators Corps and the Sort of State Corporation Units. General elections were approaching. The United Solent Party was under new leadership. You joined the party effort and campaigned for him. I mean, yeah, let's a united front. Let's keep a united front. All right, my voice seems good. During the general elections, the main opposition leader was embroiled in a sex scandal with his secretary. He was replaced by the more popular figure Franz Richter, but the damage had been done. The new economic policies and the extensive privatization of government were fortified him. Alfonso secured him an election victory for the United Solent Party. Give me a moment, I'll be back. Right, I'm back. Over the following years, you did your best in order to make Solana a better place, tried all that necessary to climb up the ladder, dedicated yourself to the party and its success. You did the best to make Solana a better place. The government and law and advancements in liberal democratic values. Oh, wait. The presidency of Alfonso saw many bold reforms in the government and law and advancements in liberal democratic values, valued your support throughout. However, due to infighting and disorganization, continental economic tensions, and fast-track privatization, it was followed by severe economic recession. The other parties announced their bids for the 1953 election, but the unfair election system hampered opposition efforts to campaign. You thought that your party could not survive another crisis. Were worried about the economic recession, worried that your reputation would be tarnished. We were worrying about the economic recession because we were worrying about people's well-being. With Peter's help, your presence in the USP grew. Two of you worked long nights together and flipped opponents to your side. You became the face of a new wing of the party. Step by step, with adequate planning, your wing took over the leadership as President Alfonso lost control of the country. The moment to make a move had come. You blamed Alfonso for the crisis on television. You bribed and extorted Alfonso's inner circle. You advised Alfonso to step down. He listened to your advice. Alfonso conceded the leadership struggle. The party eventually voted you in because of your indisputable influence. Following this, you announced that you would be running for president in the general elections, with Peter as your running mate. It was your turn. After visiting every city and town during the campaign, you made a speech on state television. You promised to enact democratic reforms or preserve national values. Hmm, reforms or values? What's going on? Alright, back to the game. Back to the game. Let's say we wanted to enact democratic reforms because at the end of the day, Abdel Nasser was a progressive, wanted to change things, and when applying his views to the situation of Soran, let's go to enact democratic reforms. The people are tired of empty promises, and we need fundamental change in our institutions and government. A solid and transparent democracy await us rather than systems and new constitution of new age promises. On election day, millions went out to cast their votes. It was time to face the truth. President ready. And we got our ass elected as president. Okay, let's go with this. Give me a moment. Yeah, I'll give the deep modifier. Let's give the default. Let's go with this. This is the closest thing we get to them looking like nonsense. Next in campaign promise. As Anton Rain, you have made consequential promises to the people of Scotland to gain their votes in the 1923 elections. Consider these commitments carefully. Economic direction. After the recent market reforms and the recession, the country finds itself stuck between two different economic systems with indecision and turbulence, causing the population to demand a decision. We will promote a planned economy. The global rivalries between capitalist Arcadia in the west and the monarchy of Frankfurt in the north, the communist United Fontana in the east are intensifying. Stonehenge has the potential to align with others or lean towards neutrality. Let's remain neutral, positive non-alignment, another of Nasser's positions. Immigration policy. In the last 5 years, Vladish, Wezek, and Anatolian immigrants flocked to Poland due to relaxed immigration laws enacted by former President Alfonso. The result is tensions are causing requests for political solution. We retain relaxed immigration because Abdel Nasser uh, wasn't someone to talk to butt heads over in this. Term focus education. Once-based public education system, defense, law enforcement, health, education. I think we're going to focus on education for our term. Like the, like a lot of things. Let's just focus on education. That's the easiest, I feel. Okay, so this is new, I think. I feel. Yes, but I am sure. Okay, so before we continue, I just want to explain that we are doing a Nasserist run. It does not necessarily mean we are replicating the regime of Jamal Abdel Nasser in Egypt. Again, the regime of Abdel Nasser was, it had to be pragmatic a lot of times. It had to go through many changes. Sometimes it was more open. Sometimes it was more restrictive, depending on the situation. Here I'm making a run based on ideology, ideas, theories, and uh, direction of Abdel Nasser. Even if sometimes one could say that Egypt was a dictatorship under Abdel Nasser, Abdel Nasser himself was not a dictator. Basically, Egypt was a dictatorship without a dictator. Abdel Nasser did not have what it takes to be a dictator. He wasn't a narcissistic asshole who wanted to benefit himself from ruling. He was a man who wanted to benefit his people and believed that, or rather was pushed into a corner, and every time he was pushed into a corner he had to restrict power more and more, because at the end of the day he was paranoid. He came in through a coup, and in the end he could be ousted by a coup, and that almost happened by the closest people to him. The second man in his regime tried to oust him after 1967. Abdel Hakim Amr, one of the reasons for the many issues of the Nasser regime and today's entrenchment of the Egyptian army in the country's affairs, that can be attributed to Abdel Hakim Amr. But yeah, the Nasserist one is based here on the ideology of Abdel Nasser, on his positions regarding many issues around the world. And I think I have the authority, somewhat the authority, to dictate how this run goes and what counts as as a Nasserist position and what doesn't. Because I won't say because I am a Nasserist. I am an Arab socialist in principle, but in practice I am more pragmatic regarding certain things. However, I am well read on the subject. I am honest. I am legitimately well read on the subject. Like, I've read the Nasser's position on the Kurdish question in Iraq. I've read about Abdel Nasser's rise to power, about his theory when he rose to power. Um, I read about his leadership. I read about the wars he engaged in. I read about like read about a lot of things regarding Abdel Nasser. So I am well read on the topic. It is a period of time. It is a period of Arab history I am very knowledgeable. I won't say I'm the most knowledgeable. That's absurd. But I am very knowledgeable. Hell, I fucking read the whole ass book of the Arab Vanguard, explaining its inception and how it developed and how it ended. Like, there's still their manifesto to read, which is like 100 pages. I don't have funds to do it, but the book itself is like 600 pages. So, case in point is, I am well read on the subject. I am well read on the political theory that I subscribe to, and I think I can more or less make it work with the situation we have here. Like, if Abdel Nasser was in Egypt that was democratic, Abdel Nasser would have never went for autocratic rule. He was against a military junta. He was from the very start. After they ousted the king, the three officers ousted the king. They were proposing, by some of his colleagues were proposing a military junta, a military regime, and Abdel Nasser was the main faction within the group that opposed him. And in the end, he had his way. In the end, he had his way, and they created a republic instead of a military regime. And while probably not the most democratic in terms of liberal values, He was always aiming at democratizing the regime, always aiming at giving, you know, reaching that level where there could be a multi-party election situation going on. But the first stage, he wanted to liberate people from poverty, from uh, hunger, from illiteracy, to give them economic opportunities so that they could be free, because he believed elections without, you know, having the people, while people are heavily reliant on others, is not real elections, it's not real democracy. You cannot have your own opinion if your livelihood is literally tied to someone's charity. Now, right or wrong, nothing to judge. Maybe at that time it was good, and in the long run it didn't prove so good. Maybe the fact he built a dictatorship without himself being a dictator was good when he was leading, but paved the path for fucking assholes to take control after he died, using, like, destroying the social aspect of his institution and keeping the security apparatus. So, for example, there's that. So yes, that's the general idea. That's the general idea behind the run. And now that I've explained it, we can proceed. 2 weeks have passed since we won the elections. Actually, let me check the voice. Okay, hold on. Test, test. Okay, I don't know what's wrong with my microphone today. Something is not right with this microphone tonight, and I do not know what it could be. I have no idea what could be the problem. It's very bizarre. Like it was working. It was working before normally. No, it's not. And now it's not. Now it's not. Alright, let's try with this here. Like the mic is almost in my mouth, but I'll try to figure it out tomorrow. Let's continue for now. 2 weeks have passed since we won the elections, and now I was about to be sworn in as the fourth president of the country. Thousands were watching the inauguration. The die was cast. In the distance, the Maroon Palace stood on top of the famous Hill of Pride. I had no way of knowing what future awaited me there. I looked at my family, my son and daughter, next to my wife. Her eyes were glimmering with pride. Then I turned towards the key people who made it all possible. Of course, each individual was promised an important position in my government. I saw my previous rival and former president, Iwad Alfonso, who gave me a slight nod, dark in soul, who was also invited, but as expected, he didn't leave his island retreat. As my thoughts slowly faded away, the reality of the situation dawned on me. Orso Holcomb, the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, was waiting for me. The time for the oath has come. I am ready. Please repeat after me. I do solemnly swear, I do solemnly swear, that I will respectfully execute the office of the President of Sorda, and to the best of my ability preserve, protect, and defend the people and the Constitution of the Republic of Sorda. You may now deliver your inauguration speech, Mr. President. Thank you. brothers and sisters. So Abdel Nasser in his speeches would say, أيها الإخوة, oh brothers, oh brothers. So let's go, brothers and sisters. Let's talk at change and hope. You, the people, have chosen. Together, we will bring prosperity and reform to our nation. It's time of hope and it's time of change. In the past, there have been times of survival, times of conflict, and economic hardships too. But whenever we stood together, we prevailed. First, we must rewrite our broken constitution from 1929. Change now, not in the next decade or years, today. I'm gonna have an emphasis on change and progress. Hundreds of thousands cheered. They were shouting my name in unison. But the responsibility, the power, and the burden all at the same time. Let's wave. I waved at the crowd, which made the people cheer louder. I took a long look at the people of Solent to burn this moment into my memory. One of the presidential guards came by to notify me that it was time to leave. I made my way to the leading car in the motorcade. The presidential state car was a jet black Cadilla with flags of Solent above the front headlights. Next to it, a man was holding the door. Sergei Sergei woke me. Hello, Mr. President. It felt euphoric from the aftermath of my speech. Hearing my new title made me smile even more. If you allow me to introduce myself, I am Sergei, your new driver. Nice to meet you, Sergei. It's an honor. He respectfully bowed his head before opening the car door and gesturing inside. I entered the car. We will be heading towards the palace. The motorcade began to move. On the way, Serge proceeded to explain his duties as a driver. As minutes passed by, I found myself lost in thought again, barely paying attention to what he was saying. He suddenly gestured out the window. Isn't that a beauty? The maroon palace. He was right. Sunlight glinted out the palace's many maroon colored domes. It was so bright that I had to look away. Every time I look at it, I am reminded of my duty to this nation. So do I, Serge, the beating heart of the nation, do you know? Well said, Mr. President. The car drove past the majestic gates, continued uphill to the entrance, and stopped in front of the doors. Sarge got out of the car and opened the door for me. Have a great day, Mr. President. A Morgna with score. He referred to the famous Swedish phrase of the times of revolution. Morning will come, victory is close. I made my way upstairs through the extravagant corridors of the palace. Marble and engraved wooden finishes decorated the interior. My footsteps echoed in the colossal halls. The guards bowed their heads in respect as I opened the massive doors to my new office. Okay, here we are. This is the start of the game. And the game autosaves after each event. So let's start reading here about our own country. Mhm. Port of Haven loses importance. Latest marine traffic reports show that the port of Haven is no longer the busiest of the Maricopa continent, falling behind your third position. While this is a negative indicator for our administration, Haven still has the potential to shine again as a major trading center. The port of Haven is the largest port of Solent and holds enormous importance for the economy, particularly as the main distribution center linking the capital and inner parts of Solent to the rest of the world. This major port city will hopefully keep supporting a possible economic upturn in the entire country if investment projects succeeded. Oh, interesting. So we get to see this. Low production in Agland. Agenland. The report calls attention to the alarmingly low levels of productivity growth in the region of Agenland, where there are high rates of food insecurity, malnutrition, and rural poverty in inner parts of the region. Lack of investment. The mayor of Arvory, Eric Neo, reports a lack of adequate infrastructure around Arvory, which seriously undermines the attractiveness of Arvory's investment climate. Foreign investors, particularly from Agnolia, are becoming hesitant to invest in the city. Meanwhile, according to data published by the National Business Council, around 90% of a company's total expenditures in Agriland is absorbed by logistics costs, while in peer regions this figure is below 10%. What's going on? Um, what the fuck just happened? Let's read. Let's read about Agnolia. Congratulations from Prime Minister Van Horten. Prime Minister Van Horten congratulated us on our election and praised our party's stances on just and transparent elections. He signaled his wishes to continue the trade partnership between our countries as equal partners as opposed to the earlier trade deals, which he believes gave Solent unfair advantages. ATO advocates for global human rights amid tensions. In response to, to growing global tensions, the Arcasian Treaty Organization, an intergovernmental military and economic alliance of 14 countries led primarily by Arcasia, has issued an expansive report examining the state of human rights worldwide amid intensifying nuclear developments and efforts to counteract the expanding influence of the Contanan Security Pact. The ATO's commitment to championing human rights remains unwavering. This is basically NATO of this world. The report meticulously identifies regions worldwide where human rights are most endangered, shedding light on areas of concern in multiple continents, including Eastern Maricopa, Western Rica, and Southern Contana. Both strategies underline the need for actionable collaborative efforts to address these crises, championing an international focus on basic human rights and freedom. As the specter of, potential tensions and proxy wars bloom, the post call for nations to remember that the fight for universal respect for human dignity transcends political ideological divisions. There's a lot of new countries. Let's read about this. Congratulations from Chancellor Hegel. Chancellor Hegel sends his congratulations on our great victory and wish for close cooperation between our countries in the future. Hegel signaled concessions from Volksland in case of a promising trade deal. He also congratulated the Swedish democracy for the successful elections and warned us about the threat of Arcasia's growing influence poses for Eastern Maricopa. So this island is gonna be a source of issue between these two countries. So I need to be careful what I do with this. Republic of Wales. Congratulations for President Smolak. President Smolak sent his congratulations on the election victory and wished for a cooperative future between Wellen and Sorland, signaling a desire to normalize the diplomatic situation between the two countries. Congratulations for Prime Minister Alvarez. Prime Minister Alvarez congratulated you for the results and spoke about his hopes to have a beneficial partnership deal in the future. He sent his best wishes to the Swedish people and warned us about the threats of the encroaching Millennialist, basically communist, influence of United Contana, basically the Soviet Union, from the east, emphasizing the importance of unity in our continent, Mercopa. Turning to Sorla, let's see the report. Logistical issues. In a recent update from Holsor, the mayor expressed growing concern about escalating traffic congestion linked to the city's burgeoning population and rapid urban expansion. A logistics report pinpointed the significant increase in traffic volume and subsequent slowing of transportation routes as the capital's most pressing issues. The mayor stressed that the lack of comprehensively designed large-scale land-based logistics hub serving as a converging point for all transporters is exacerbating the issues faced by domestic transporters, given Hawthorne's status as a sprawling metropolis. The current situation where transporters have established separate centers across 10 different districts is scattered and inefficient. Hmm, scattered and inefficient. I wonder how these things will end up going. Okay, let's go on the briefing on the current political situation. Peter Factor arrived a couple of minutes early and sat across from me. He was struggling to hold back a smile. We did it, Anton. We won. Finally. All those years, all, all those years with our noses to the grindstone pained off. Peter's eyes sparkled. The strain of the past months had put a damper on his usual rakish charm. Today he was looking and acting more like his old self. He loosened his tie and undid the top two buttons of his shirt, and fucking hell, my dear hurt. Shit. Enjoying the new secretary I picked out for you? Thought you'd appreciate her gorgeous set of talents. It's a shame the rest of your staff aren't as easy on the eyes. Ah, yes, by the way, Peter is a big fucking pervert. He gestured to the slight punch that protruded over his waistband and a comic relief, kind. But hey, back in university, did you ever imagine we would be sitting here in the Baroque Palace? We have to celebrate this great victory. Let's celebrate then. I got my hands on something special for us. An Air Lorry Maroon 30-year-old. We will celebrate at the inaugural ball. Just hang in there until the evening. So if we say Peter Vectorn here is an analog for Abdul Hakim Amir, Nasser and Amir had a special relationship. They were close, as close as brothers. Basically, they had this kind of bromance going on where if like imagine you go Abdel Nasser went on to buy a shirt, he'd buy the same shirt and send it to Amr. They both named their firstborn one not their firstborn, but they both named one of their sons after each other, and there was a special relationship going. So I'm going to go with this, the first one, even though the second option was the superior one. Over the expensive bottle of whiskey and poured it in the two glasses I prepared. The exquisite smell filled the room immediately. Yeah, I should have picked the second one, honestly. 1924, that was my freshman year, also the year after the revolution. Very difficult times, to be honest, but this smells like heaven. Future awaits. Future awaits. I raised my glass and toasted with Peter before smelling the whiskey and taking a sip. The sweet vanilla tone combined with the oaky taste developed into a lingering smokiness. I should have went with the second option. This is stupid. Peter really seemed to be enjoying it. What a taste. This is how we should start all meetings. We didn't get much done. Remember that administration? Yeah, but you are different. All they did was enjoy the privilege. What would be the case for my cabinet? He suddenly looked a bit anxious on his chair. I assure you it won't. We will not make the same mistakes. Relax, I'm just joking. He let out a nervous laugh. The door swung open and Lucian Galade, my chief strategist, walked in. He was a compact man with sharp, bird-like features. After briefly surveying the room from wall to wall, he sat down, poured a glass of water, and opened his briefcase in a series of quick, graceful movements. Gentlemen, the tall case clock in the room struck 3 o'clock. Damn, you are exactly on time. Hello, Peter. Lucian then turned towards me. He very slightly bowed his head. Glad to see you, Lucian. It is a privilege to be here, sir. Russian spoke in soft, clipped tones that immediately drew your attention towards what he had to say. Peter and I waited for him to proceed. Let's start by evaluating our current situation. The majority of the Swedish people demand change. They are more concerned about the economy than the constitution, but they blame the system for their problems. People are losing their trust in our democracy. Why do you think radicals like Benar Sirkas are becoming more popular? Everyone's expecting us to bring the change the last government did not. Franz Richter, leader of the reformists, believes that true change can only be accomplished by transferring some of our powers to the assembly. I will move into the details of their demands shortly. You need to listen to the people if you want to serve this country. That's exactly what they campaigned for, a true change that will move the country forward. We will need many allies against the old guard in the government. Mr. Richter managed to persuade many members of the assembly to give their support for drafting a new constitution. Reformist politicians are quickly increasing in number. While the reformist wing inside our party is still a minority, they could have a tripartisan majority in the assembly, especially if they unite under Franz Richter. The SP reformers aren't wrong to agree to bring change, but we should be in charge. Mr. Richter could be a potential ally in our goal to maintain a majority in the assembly. Okay, so it's either we can form a broad revolutionary front, which was one of the Nasserist ideas, like forming a broad revolutionary front to combat, to enact progress, like a union of revolutionary forces. But also, Abdel Nasser had this position of being more in charge. That's more of his own person. So let's go with this. Get an ally. He is definitely key in this. The reformist demands are clear. They want to limit the president's veto powers, ensure that the Supreme Court is independent, and take away the court's rights to vote on constitutional amendments. Must listen to their demands, otherwise we are no different than the previous administrations. I agree, we can't ignore the winds of change after all. The old guard will do its best to preserve the constitution, so Justice Hawker and his allied judges have a great influence over the Supreme Court, which will be tough to break. The court also has the final say over constitutional legislation. Without their approval, we cannot even change it. We need a comprehensive bill to balance the power structure more fairly. We must break the power of the Supreme Court one way or another. Okay, we need a comprehensive bill. I agree. The old guard won't like this though. Comprehensive reform that would make the reformers happy would mean maintaining a balance between all branches of government, which means removing your absolute veto as well. The reformers demand that all loopholes in the constitution are closed. And I mean, honestly, Nasser never wanted to be a president for life, and he didn't want this super duper immense power to be held in his hands at the end of the day. He always thought about retiring from politics when he could set Egypt on the right track towards the end, but sadly he died before he could do that. Looks like we have many challenges ahead. We can figure it out. Our party still holds 130 out of 250 seats at the assembly if got the power. However, to reform the constitution, we must receive two-thirds majority in the Grand National Assembly, which is 166 votes, and a simple majority in the Supreme Court that equates to 6 votes. After we have settled on how to proceed, we will need to talk with our party figures. Our first goal must be to get 150 signatures needed to start the process. Following the green light from the USP, we will reach out to the other party leaders to see if they would back our draft. The last step is to convince the justice of the court. The entire process will take a long time. We must start working with the reform committee to evaluate all possibilities for a new constitution as soon as possible. We will write more democratic constitution with the reformers. The new constitution should be give President wide-ranging powers, each role in the future. We could work with the old guard to protect our existing excessive powers. We will write a more democratic constitution with the reformers. That's what we've been preparing for internally. Don't forget that promise is what got us elected. The key thing here will be strengthening the power of the assembly, which we already lead with a majority. Yes, the divisions of power need to be rebalanced for a better shoreline. According to the initial draft we made with the reformers, there are two changes to the constitution that are not open for the discussions. First, the Supreme Court will no longer vote on constitutional amendments. Second, the president's absolute veto will be taken away. This can be replaced with a limited veto system by fixing the current loopholes. I have no problems with these clauses. Let's work with the reformists. All right. We will form a reform committee together with all parties and start reaching out to all the stakeholders in the assembly and the court for a new constitution. By later in the year, we should have an idea of the reform contents and what the other parties want. Lucian took notes. Another important point, you must be aware of the Lothar group, the oligarchs, convene under this organization to influence economic policies. Conrad led it a long time before falling ill. The new leader is Mr. Walter Tusk. According to reports, some members of the National Business Council are in their pockets. Tusk and the group will surely try to bribe us in exchange for special economic protections. I'm going to work with them anyway. The new administration will be open to talk to business groups. I won't be both. It won't happen. But a dialogue with them eventually. We need to be diplomatic. We won't let these privileged, greedy, and snobby capitalists run the country. I will enter a dialogue with them eventually. We need to be diplomatic. I mean, dialogue is better than one must be pragmatic because there's also national capitalism, which is not the but also these guys are the bourgeoisie. Let's just say I won't be bought. It won't happen. Alfonso said the same thing, without there was anybody else to turn to in this case. As far as I know, Master Coronti has some strong ties to this group. His influence could definitely be an asset for us, but I'm sure he'll want something in return. The group's influence is an important force, one that we should use to our. The group is dependent on our economic policies. They can't move a finger without Tusk is heading the group. We should make sure he's on our side. Hmm. Let's go with this one. We just need to be careful with him. He looks like the lesser evil, but it could very quickly turn out to be the other way around. We need to tread carefully on all sides with all power players to survive our term. We need to underline the seriousness of the situation. The military and general staff are a powerful element in the state, and history tells us a dangerous one too. We do have some room to make structural changes, by reducing their budget, for example, but it is quite limited. Motherfucker, I am not lowering the budget of the army. Oh, hey there, Logan, what's up? I am not lowering the budget of the army. Do you know what that leads to? Do you know what the fuck that leads to? Where the fuck that leads to? The fucking coup d'etat! I don't want to die in prison just like Astor Whiskey did. With the Nuremberg threat on the horizon, we can't reduce our defense capability and anger our general staff. I would advise the same. The budget should be maintained, and we should refrain from confronting the military too directly. Defense Minister Josef Lancia is more loyal to us compared to General Kruger. In fact, that obviously can change with our actions. Either way, I see a potential rift between the two since they are clearly of different minds. If we act strongly against the military, both of those guys will unite against us. I agree with Lucian. We need to tread carefully. Well then, gentlemen, precisely 30 minutes. This concludes our political briefing for today. Our next meeting will be about our media series. Talk to you soon, sir. I will keep in touch. So let's go to the overview. Policies and situations. The Reform Committee. The Reform Committee has been convened to engage in extensive discussions on the potential revisions and updates of the Constitution. This includes inclusive dialogue involves representatives from all political parties within the government, providing an opportunity for a comprehensive constitutional review and reform. Okay. Okay. There's reports now coming, and there's also news articles. Fire strikes Holsworth State University archive. Okay. Okay. Said the committee, which includes all three political parties of the assembly, has been formed for preparation of the potential changes to the constitution. The committee has been tasked to submit comprehensive reports. Solent have maintained accountability of campaign bill fair representation. The assembly, the long stalled campaign bill, has once again taken center stage. The bill first proposed by during. Okay. Rain spoke of change and hope. I will not read all of these, but it's good to keep a mind of the headlines and the tone they're saying. Solent today. Who are these? Ah, the reformists. Thousands of supporters have gathered. USP, the public mood is very positive. Alright. Economists. A stunning development, former president. And Solonomics. A new era begins for Solon and holds many economics questions that will need to be answered. Brain, top economic analysis. Basically, this is the capitalist publication. This is the economist of this world. The economist world. Okay. Structure the infrastructure. After the recent successful mega infrastructure projects from the United Montana and Valksland, the world is warming up to the idea of a source of growth and employment. But is there any truth in this success? Our investment analysis indicates that the infrastructure investments can be fruitful in the short term, but even more so in the long term, especially if they focus on the economic nodes that business logistics depend on. This is, however, the first step. The crux of the matter is diversification of investment, where the government supports employment and growth. It is the key to help private businesses with government contracts, tax breaks, and political support in order to create a self sufficient and dynamic economy. The government's role in Sorland should be to integrate the world economy and reap the benefits of global trade, economic growth, and income inequality in this country won't be fixed otherwise. Alright, my voice is good enough. I hate having to check it. Tonight is definitely not my night. The La Habentine, Swedish National League starts season. Alright. Support and assembly grows for campaign finance bill. Okay. New assembly begins duty. President Anton Rain has been elected fourth president. Okay. United Solon's party have won the elections on Sunday. People's Freedom Justice Party could gain just over 20%. Pizarro, the head of the right-wing National Front, is in third place. The Communist Party of Solon and the Workers' Party of Ludia both just won below 10% of the vote, failing to pass the 10% election threshold. The new term begins with the opposition under the USP government. The underrepresented votes below the threshold resulted in the USP 52% of the seats in the Grand National Assembly, giving them to lawmaking power. The new seat numbers have been finalized as follows. All right. The radical are basically the communists. Unearthed the Islam incident. Decades after the infamous Islam incident, new unconfirmed information emerges that challenges the official state narrative as per anonymous former Black Battalion sources. Black Battalion are basically the PKK in this world. The Bloods are basically the Kurds. We're basically playing as Turkey. This was not an act of foreign aggression to save us up, but a government conspiracy to gain influence. Material related to members of the old guard faction revealed startling information. Alright. Another USP president. How many times will people fall for the same trap? We've seen this before with Colin Saul, who supposedly saved the country. Alright. Well, fuck off, radical. Geopolitical Rumbar coming south. Of foreign policy analysts who are reviewing the recent aggressive military and diplomatic developments of Rumberg have come to the conclusion that it is highly likely that Rumberg will keep trying to push further south, threatening the territories of Sorland, Welland, and possibly Agnolia. The annexation of Dome many decades ago was just the beginning. Rumberg seems to be on a quest to secure all strategic resources in East Maricopa. Risia firmly refutes Pale's retort in Orios gas fields dispute. Recent twist of the Ares offshore gas field saga, the Kingdom of Frisia has strongly refuted the Grand Duchy of Pale's counterclaim. This development escalates last year's surprise move by Risia, which asserted ownership based on historical records and long-standing and/or maritime agreements. The claim was initially put significant pressure had initially put significant pressure on Pales and caused notable fluctuations in their Copan energy markets. The Grand Duchy of Pales, countering Grecia's assertions, had presented their own historical evidence and legal agreements to justify their exploitation rights. This counterclaim added fuel to the already intense dispute, drawing keen attention from across Maricopa and prompting offers of international mediation to prevent further escalation. Despite the ongoing diplomatic efforts, the deadlock continues to unsettle the region's energy sector. Energy companies across Maricopa express growing concerns about operational disruptions and potential impacts on the region's energy supply. The persistence of the dispute threatens not only immediate economic interest, but also the long-term stability of energy markets. Right, and there's more reports to Indeed. SodaStreet Corporation's field research team announced new gas field discovery in Narble. These discoveries could enhance the city's energy supply and significant role in the broader energy landscape of Solent. Preliminary analysis of the yield and quality of these fields is currently underway. The corporation will soon release a comprehensive report outlining extraction feasibility. Okay, all right. Nature Preservation March. The Nature Preservation Foundation in Tehran has organized a march promoting ecological practices and nature preservation. The event witnessed significant participation, demonstrating the local community's commitment to environmental issues. This peaceful demonstration has successfully raised awareness about Tehran's unique biodiversity and environmental challenges. Local authorities have noted the event of this message conveyed by the foundation. Honestly, this was a bad game to stream now, but if I don't stream it today, I'm gonna have to stream it like 8 months from now. It's a little bit hard for me to speak, a little bit painful, but I digress. All right, let's continue. Oh, another report. Increasing homelessness. The region of Bergia is among the worst hit regions in Solent, where homelessness has skyrocketed since the economic recession. The number of homeless in the city of Dare is more likely to have increased by 25% in the last year. The rise was particularly stark among Luddish people, where homelessness increased by 72% in just 6 years. It is reported that homelessness among ethnic minorities has reached the highest level in more than a decade. The Kurdish minority of the region now account for up to 47% of all homeless people there. Damn. All right, whole sword. Oh, reports. Let's read. Gen 8 Press Tourism Act. The Grand National Assembly in Whole Sword is readying the Solent Tourism and Culture Preservation Act. This act aims to enhance the culture and tourism appeal of several cities, including Boren, Ribri, Lakaven, Anrika, and Benfi, in a collective push to make Solent a global tourist destination. Fire broke out in the academic administration building of the Holsworth State University. The initial report from the chief of police in Holsworth indicates a near to complete destruction of employee records from 1890 until now, along with original copies of internationally recognized academic research destroyed. The extent of the damage is worse than expected. People's views on the need for democratic reform and the government structure has changed over the last decade. Reformist propaganda from the leaders of the People's Freedom and Justice Party has resulted in a massive increase in the demands for democratic reforms. It is estimated that currently 55% of the population support the reformists' ideas. Okay. The economic situation. Simon Hall, Gus Manger, and Lilias Graf were about to arrive at the White Room for our scheduled economy briefing. It was the room in the Maroon Palace where all important meetings were held. Two assistants arrived first, carrying a heavy projector, and stood with it by the door, waiting for the ministers to enter. From the hallway, I heard Graf's voice. She was using the patient, almost motherly tone she often took in heated arguments. Gus, do you really think that such an economically advanced area is more in need of investment than ag inland? Yes, my interior minister strode in. She was clad in shades of brown and beige, the only spot of color a bright yellow dust Nasserist cross on her necklace. Gus followed close behind. Don't be an idiot, Elias. What about the unemployment crisis in Greater Holsworth and Glassland regions are going through? These areas are our economic heartland. Gus curled his hands into fist, the Minister of Agriculture and Rural Development's temper hadn't changed since his days in the Alfonso administration, but neither had his reputation for getting things done. His far-reaching network of connections was unlike any other. He quickly stepped between the two ministers without looking at either of them. Simon Hall, okay, cleared his throat. Good morning, Mr. President. Good morning, everyone. How are you? I'm very well and motivated, Mr. Brain. It seems our ministers are feeling the same. Just how expected. How it's going? Nasser. Yes. I can clearly see that. What was the discussion about? We were having a discussion about, but by the way, not everything is gonna be like what would Nasser have done or said. Like let's put it in grand big ass policy. A lot of these things are going to be what I think should like what I want to answer. All right. So it's a mix of everything. We're having a discussion about the infrastructure plans. If I may, I would like to talk about the. Sam interrupted me. We will get there, guys. No rush. First, I would like to conduct my economic presentation. I am interested. Let's begin. Let's begin. I'm looking forward to this. Simon pulled a silk handkerchief out of his pocket and briefly wiped his glasses. My staff and I have comprehensively analyzed every aspect of. He was interrupted by a groan from one of his assistants by the door, both of whom were now visibly struggling to hold up the heavy projector. Oh, we can put that here. He pointed below the painting of President Saul. The assistant placed the projector next to the table and installed a wide screen on the wall. Leave now. I mean, thank you now. Please leave now. The assistant left the cabinet room. I was reminded that Simon had never quite had a way with people, and his facility with numbers had made him the most sought after economic specialist in Sorland. Hmm. There's a joke to be said here, but I will avoid saying it. Simon started looking for his slides. He always carried documentation around with him. Wait. Ilyas leaned on the table and spoke. Simon, what happened to the new police station construction in Estoril? While going through his briefcase, he paused for a moment to answer. It got stalled with a government property boundary issue. I have been meaning to look at it. I can take a look at that one. Estoril needs all the security help it can get. Sure, more time for me to spend on analysis. His eyes glittered when he finally found the slides they were looking for. There, there have been some developments about the sword strand losing further value today. You have been trying to stabilize it with the central bank. The recession of 51 put enormous pressure on the economy, resulting in the collapse of the value of our currency. The entire situation was a significant cause of concern for our administration. Would you like to know about the current economic situation? What is our GDP and debt situation? Our GDP is 310 billion Swedish francs, and the national debt is 427 billion. Shit. It's still hard to fathom that we lost nearly 150 billion in wealth the past 3 years with rough. What is our unemployment and inflation rate? Unemployment has skyrocketed and is now at a staggering 16%, and the inflation is at a relative high of 10%. Unemployment is increasing crime and drug use. We need to get people off the streets, and inflation isn't helping our average citizen either. What is the status of the recession? The economy has been in a recession in about 6% of the past year. The average GDP has dropped from 15,000 to 10,000 from 1951 to now. This administration's success depends on our ability to stop the recession. The sooner we can reach GDP growth, the better. I have all the information needed. Let's move on to the economic strategy. Simon scattered the paper stack in front of him in an orderly manner and took a final look at his notes before clearing his throat. As you can see, the situation is alarming, but not everything is negative. The extensive privatization program of Alfonso and key foreign direct investments has us a large budget surplus, which we can use to stabilize the crisis. The primary subject we need to settle on is what general path we will take in our turn. Solonomics-based nationalization happened in the 30s, and Alfonso's privatization began during the end of the 40s. What will our administration focus on? One of our main promises was to promote a planned economy to stop the recession. To be frank, I still don't think this was a good idea. Shouldn't go back to Solonomics. This is the reason of the recession. Self-sufficiency will help us. Will help us in tough times. Salmon ignored the statement. Economic systems without regulation are bound to fail. What are the consequences of the free market? The more of the economy. Okay, economic systems without regulation are bound to fail. Obviously, there is some regulation in all of the existing systems. Otherwise, it would be anarchy. Everyone's a chaotic society. From taxes to the standard of goods, there are many elements that regulate all aspects of the system. But is it enough? I doubt it. If we can manage to plan more aspects of the economy, our chances of success would increase with a talented team like ours. Honestly, a planned economy is very good when it is executed to the T. But of course, it should not be like a one-track mind. There should be a lot of diversification as well. A planned economy today works much better than in the past because now we have the technology to support it. But at the same time, sadly, the world has moved past a planned economic system. But I don't know. Let's continue. The social problems of Solomon's are going to lead to a recession according to the predictions at the time anyway. Either way, even if we pick one of the doctrines, we retain the option to make economic choices on a case-by-case basis. That is, however, not recommended in my point of view. The last thing we need is a chaotic and economic plan. And finally, something we can both agree on. There's another important point which has a direct impact on our economy: superpowers. We have done well not aligning ourselves with any one of them. Economically speaking, an isolationist policy overall could only work if we were to reap the benefits of both spheres and their rivalry. It's a very dangerous to attempt, but still possible, and this is what we're going for. We must be very cautious. There are schemes being devised about Sourland. We cannot give in to their wants now or in the future, otherwise our country will turn into a pawn. Sourland will not be controlled by any nations. Precisely my point. We will stand strong and show an example to the world. Yes, Egypt was basically the leading third world power in the past. The Nasserist system inspired a lot of other revolutionaries in the third world, including but not limited to the Cuban Revolution. I hope we won't regret this. Elias had a sip of water from her glass. When the time comes, I hope we will make the right decision for our own good. We should attract more foreign direct investments, Mr. President. Save the country from full-on depression in 1952 and 1953 by signing lucrative trade deals with nations such as Tunisia, Lesbia, and Kinal. What's Kinal? Yeah, there's a lot of lore that I will not go into. Let's not get ahead of ourselves, Mr. Whiskey will be in charge of informing you on those types of foreign policy decisions. We must first decide on our internal economic plan. Someone put forward a legal document outlining the possibilities with both economic doctrines listed, and cabinet members looked at them. We have to thank Solon and spend the economy for the boom. Please, Jose. Let's finish what Alfonso started. Excuse me. What's on our long-term economic schedule? Picking a construction company, trade relations, tax reform, and welfare privatization and nationalization. This will be some of them. We must choose wisely and remember that the free market economy in all forms is the future of the world. I wouldn't be so sure. Would a planned economy focus bring us stronger allies? It would make Continent automatically look at our country in a more positive light. There are proponents of the planned economy. The influence Arcadia has on the world economy is extensive. Our economic strategy should be based on internal reasoning, though. We should uh, We have to thank Saul for his planned economy for the boom. It clearly shows the success of the system. Let's finish. Okay, let's just move on to the conclusion. What are your final thoughts, Mr. President? Critical institutions must remain a state control. We must be fully responsible in delivering services. We should look at opportunities like privatization to create financial resources. Market economy doesn't require as much guidance. It's hard to fully agree or disagree with these options. We say critical institutions must remain in state control. You could be, and it wouldn't be negative, but either way, you make the choices. So, what will our general economic plan promote? Promote a planned economy as we promised. Not sure if we made the right decision here. Now that there is a clarity on which direction we are heading, I will work on a good plan accordingly. This concludes our meeting. At our next gathering, we will talk about the upcoming infrastructure investment. Now that the economic direction was taken, the ministers dispersed for lunch at the Maroon House. And with our economic vision, we are advocating for a planned economy system, urging businesses to align their operations with this approach. Though comprehensive economic planning and coordination, resource allocation, we aim to optimize productivity, ensure social welfare, and achieve long-term economic stability and growth. For fuck's sake, is there's always going to be shit to read in this game? Whatever. Going wine demand in Boren. In Boren, there has been a significant There has been a significant surge in demand for local wines. This sudden increase has led to a busy season for vineyards and wineries across the region. The cause of this rise in demand comes from international interest, and it is certainly driving economic activity in the city. Wineries are ramping up production to meet increased demand. A continued trend could further stimulate the region's economy. The number of people filing for unemployment in Morna continues to rise as the recession continues. The change in economic conditions is historic and stunning in its speed, said the mayor of Morna. In the aftermath of the crisis of 1951, the unemployment rate in Morna rose to 9% in the following year. The last 6 months have almost erased all gains in unemployment over the last few decades. Quoted, for the first time in 3 years, the agricultural output of Sarna has increased. Many experts link the increased output to both a drop in temperatures and new farming practices that have been adopted in recent years. Additionally, farmers are now accessing more generous credits allowances from the government that were left over from the Alfonso administration. The Ministry of Agriculture reports that the region's agricultural industry has the potential to become a powerhouse in the future if investments persist. The recession led to a reduction in rail assets, with more than a fifth of the railway network, itself antiquated, being mothballed in the recent years. While the main lines of the railway network are currently in service, increased demands in goods from the capital is pushing the network to its limits. The rail signaling system in the region dates from the middle last century and is also in need of improvement. The Gasum sea rig off the coast of Lakaven or Lachaven has paused all extraction operations for essential maintenance. The rig has been a significant contributor to Lakaven's oil output, and its temporary shutdown would impact the city's production levels. The maintenance timeline remains uncertain. The local government is monitoring the situation and making arrangements to ensure minimal disruption in the city's oil supply. Until then, normal operations remain suspended. The recent collapse of the tourism industry in Linköping has led to a reduction in freight traffic and road maintenance. The road network is currently in service, but is in need of substantial improvement. Ports, country roads, and bridges similarly suffer from a lack of investment. Firms doing business in Linköping report a significant shortage of warehousing facilities, particularly refrigerated facilities, with implications both with a transportation system and the ability to serve the population's basic food and health needs. TSP and Federation of Anraka signed historic NAD, a significant step forward in international diplomacy. The Contana Security Pact, an intergovernmental military and economic alliance of 9 countries led by United Contana, has signed a 5-year non-aggression pact with the Federation of Arnakan Isles. This landmark agreement underlines the CSP's commitment to broadening its influence beyond its home continent of Contana while maintaining peaceful relations across the globe. The pact demonstrates the SCP's ongoing efforts to peacefully extend its influence across the Anrakan archipelago, making an important turn in the complex of geopolitical landscapes as the CSP strengthens its global position to counteract the capitalist influence of the ATO. This agreement signals a commitment to strategic peaceful expansion that respects the sovereignty of nations that lie in the ocean between United Contana and Arcasia. Kingdom of Frisia. Frisia congratulates elections victory. King Romulus Taurus of Frisia has formally extended warm congratulations to President Anton Rain following his electoral success. In an official address, he praised Solon's so-called democratic ethos and expressed a keen interest in fortifying bilateral ties under the Rain administration. The king anticipates a future of close cooperation and mutual respect between the two nations, regardless of the governmental differences. Let's check the news. Tourism, a beacon of hope for Sorland. All right. Fueling Sorland's tomorrow. Gaston, all right. Oh, the Alphonsus found. Okay, this is basically an ad. Economic meeting held in Holsworth. Contacts close to the government reports that yesterday Solent economic policies have been planned behind closed doors shortly after the meeting that was also attended by President Rain. The Ministry of Economy has also released a statement regarding their short-term economic plans, which including the promotion of a planned economy. Armadine Industries pioneering electronics. Holy shit, dude, looks like a dog. No, no, I hate this. Goodbye. Okay, alright. Freezing temperatures recorded. Oh shit. People in Berga are homeless. Alfonso ditches Lotharberg, a sign of discord. Alright. Basically, it's a Walter Task Control Fund. Frustrated with the group's direction, Alfonso, the current chairman of GASON, is determined to steer his own path. Despite this apparent show of independence, one can't help but view his decision as a demonstration of a growing rift within Lotharberg. Alfonso's political failures, including a devastating loss to President Anton Reign in the 1953 elections and his triggering of the 1951 recession, cast long shadow over this move. Nationalist violence. A man in his 20s has been beaten with baseball bats in a paramilitary style attack in Arvory. The man claims to have been attacked because of his ethnic background as a Nagno Sordicist. He was approached during a walk at the park by a group of right wing extremists who are suspected of being regulars at the local National Front Party office. The group inflicted injuries to his legs and arms, police said. The man was brought to the hospital after making his way to a nearby property. The police service of Arvory said it was a brutal attack for which there is no justification. There is no place for attacks such as this in our society, said Eric Neal, mayor of Arvory. He called for unity and urged restraint from the populace. Meeting Fondi Media Strategy. Meeting of the media strategy. Lucian and Peter arrived at my office to talk about recent developments in my media strategy. They both took their seats across from me. Lucian put on his reading glasses and quickly went over some documents. Peter turned to Lucian and nodded. Greetings, gentlemen. I have just received further information from the interior about the sudden fire that broke out at the Holsworth State University Archives in Prague. Latest reports from the Holsworth police chief indicates a potential arson case. In accordance with protocol, the Soldiers Intelligence Directorate has been called. Is the SID really necessary for this? Why would anyone hit the archives of a university in the first place? I see no logistical motive there. Seems like the chief suspects foreign sabotage. They informed us that a large section of the archive has been destroyed, including tens of thousands of globally recognized research documents, the original by the great thinkers of our people. Seems as so much knowledge was lost. Luckily, most originals have copies in the other universities and some international libraries. The first edition of my favorite book, The Geopolitics of Solent by Hermann Eckwa, was destroyed too. Maybe it was just a freak accident. We do have copies of most important works, so no single fire can eradicate our knowledge. See no point in destroying employee records either. More importantly, Lucian mentioned that Marcel Coranti contacted him. Corantis had always been known as one of the richest and most influential families in Sorland. He was the oldest son of Conrad Coranti, the industrialist and media mogul who founded the HOS, the richest man in the entirety of Sorland. Lucian turned to me. He has offered to meet with you, Mr. Mayor. What does he want? After the passing of his father, may he rest in peace, Marcel aims to become the next CEO of HOS. Conglomerate. He mentioned a productive collaboration. They are a powerful and influential media conglomerate. To start with, they own the Sourland Today newspaper, the Swedish Broadcasting Corporation, which means it would be wise to have them by our side. Sorry for interrupting. What does this productive collaboration entail? He did not wish to explain the details over the phone, but rather in person. I believe I will be receiving a call from him soon. However, as Peter said, they have substantial power over the content of media outlets, headlines, radio shows. That is what we would be offering. What he wants in return is what we need to understand. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. First, we need to determine our general approach to media. I'm no media expert, but Lucian made some very interesting arguments at the preparation meeting yesterday. There are two ways we can approach the media. One of them is by influencing it, which has clear advantages. The other one is keeping it independent. The media must be independent. Like Abdel Nasser had a lot of power through the media, using the media, but it was like he had full authority over the country. The media must be independent. Any democratic thinker would go with that. Ideally, yes, but an unpopular leader will not be able to pass even the easiest reforms. This is what most important is to maintain public popularity and avoid any damaging scandals or mistakes. We must stress one thing, Mr. President. The more people we have supporting our agenda, the more we can accomplish. With someone on our side in an influential media organization, we can do this very easily. I see what you are getting at. I agree with Lucian, but why the assumption there will be scandals and mistakes? We can always hope for the best, but do we really think that nothing can go wrong, especially considering the very recent history of Solon? Okay, holy shit, Peter just saying this? That's so fucking stupid. Two knocks were heard on the door. Who is it? Livia Soon. It's Livia, Mr. President. My new secretary entered the office. Her dark curls bounced as she crossed the room to my desk. She spoke with a slight lilt in her voice. Excuse me, Mr. President. Mr. Galadi's secretary has been calling me and wanted me to relay a message. Mr. Colanti, the new CEO for HOS conglomerate, is online for Mr. Galadi. Well, the ball is in our court now. Would you like to talk to him, sir? Would you like me to? You go ahead. Connect the line to my office. Yeah, I do not want to make him to feel like I really want his presence. He needs to earn my attention. You go ahead. Connect the line to my office. Get away, sir. Connecting the call to line. Minutes passed as the two talked over the phone. Good news indeed. Congratulations, Mr. Ferranti. Thank you for contacting me about this. We will talk later. Bishop put the phone down. What was so important that it couldn't wait? He was just elected CEO by the board of directors. He offered a partnership deal regarding his media branch. He is inviting us to his resort near Conriat for a meeting. The board has decided rather quickly. It seems that gave him the confidence to approach us again. He's going to offer a real deal, and now has the power of the conglomerate too. Conglomerate too. So it's up to you, Mr. President. We can set up a meeting soon. Arrange the meeting with Mr. Peranti. It's good to. It is like if he's our enemy, it's best that we stay on cordial terms for the time being. If he's going to be a friend, we're going to arrange a meeting. There is no point in anger here. I'll set things up right away. Expect a worthwhile meeting next month. I mean, hell, Abdel Nasser met numerous times with leaders he fucking hated, or leaders who had wronged him. Hell, before 1967, before the war, by like a couple weeks, he met with the king of Jordan. He said, "You know what? You're like a little brother to me, and I forgive you over all the shit you wronged me with. But we are entering a new phase in the conflict, and shit is gonna hit the fan. We gotta be on the same, like on the same wavelength here." Settle then. Looking forward to next month. I wonder if he has a pool. It appears we're done for today. We'll continue where we left off later. Thank you for your time. Good work with my son. So what do you have here? Invest in mega infrastructure. Campaign finance. Diplomacy. Situations. Fluctuating energy prices. Solon is currently grappling with fluctuating energy prices, a development causing uncertainty in the domestic market. This unpredictability may lead to significant repercussions for Solon's economy and can influence both domestic policy and international trade relations. Volga. Declining energy output at the Volgan Dam. The Volgan Dam, a critical energy resource for Solent, has been experiencing a reduction in its energy output due to its age. The dam's aging infrastructure is proving less efficient, affecting its ability to maintain previous levels of energy generation. This decrease could impact the region's energy supply if not addressed promptly. Plans for refurbishing or modernization of the dam could be proposed in the future if necessary. Library, with its rich historical sites, unique culture, and natural beauty, has untapped tourism potential. However, the city lacks the necessary infrastructure and promotional activities to become a fully fledged tourist destination. Local officials are actively seeking further support to develop Ribery's tourism sector. Any strategic plan for Ribery's development will require a focus on infrastructure and the promotion of its attraction. Boosting tourism could significantly enhance the city's economy and create numerous job opportunities. Conrad Coronti passed away. Suspicious fire ravaged the HSU. Gazom hires freeze amid economic strains. Glamorous inaugural ball. The whole sort elite gathers for a lavish state ball. Many citizens in the country are uncertain about their own future, but the state has no problems with wasting taxpayers' money. Yeah, go fuck yourselves. Like you have a point, but like go fuck yourselves. Magical dispute between Galmland and Volksland intensifies under leadership of Fortadir. Under the leadership of Galmland's second female leader, the ideological dispute between Galmland and Volksland has intensified. The Galmland government has been actively promoting the development and implementation of the Galmish Manifesto, a unique interpretation of Carlos Marcia's communist theory. The country has been pushing this agenda to other CSP countries, garnering support and building alliances in an effort to strengthen their position in the region. However, internal factions backed by Langslagian socialism and United Contana Millennialism poses a significant challenge to the government. These factions are working to undermine the Galmish Manifesto and weaken Galmland's influence among its allies. As tensions escalate, both nations find themselves locked in a fierce ideological battle, potentially significant consequences for regional stability and cooperation. Solon's regional trade. As the Reign administration started its first term, there is a question in all of our heads. What will be the regional international trade policy? Due to the strategic geopolitical location of Solent, historically Agnoli and Wehlen have been natural trading partners. Depending on the direction of the Reign administration, I think it's likely that a new trade deal will be brokered with at least one of these partners in the near term. All in all, regardless of which trading partners the administration decides to go with, one thing is for sure: regional trade will boost the ailing economy. The real question is, what does Volksland and Lesbia think about Solent? Let's see the reports. The Reform Committee reports that any potential change in the constitution is the direction of the reformists will likely result in strong opposition from the National Front Party. The members of assembly in support of such direction seem to be in great numbers and possibly make up the majority of the Grand National Assembly, while most members of the United Solent Party seem reluctant about supporting such changes. SID joins HSU fire investigation. Further investigations by the police department reveal a potential arson case with no identified suspects yet. The police chief of Holsworth has voiced concern about suspected sabotage by a foreign nation, inviting the Swedish Intelligence Directorate in the investigation to expand the investigation. Oh, great writing. The area is cordoned off from the public to discover further evidence. Campaign finance bill. Okay. Electoral campaign finance bill. Section 1 of this bill stipulates that significant change in the methodology of public funds allocation to political parties. The new measure replaces the previous system, based on the number of votes won in the general election, with a system reliant on the proportion of seats secured by a political party in the assembly. Section 2 sets the annual finance allocation to political parties at 500,000 Ren per each member of the assembly. This shifts ensure that financial support from public funds aligns more closely with the party's representative influence within the legislative body. Section 3. A consequential effect of these amendments would effectively lead to a substantial increase in the election budget of the USP and minor augmentation for other parties present in the Assembly. The structuring of funding fosters a more proportional representation of party presence within the Assembly. Section 4 highlights an important consequence of this relocation. Parties that do not meet the 10% election threshold see their public funding effectively curtailed. This measure ensures that public resources are concentrated towards parties with a significant representation in the Assembly. That is anti democratic, and we will veto it. President vetoes bill. The campaign finance bill has been vetoed by President Rain after its approval by the Grand National Assembly by majority vote on Friday. Sector who also objected to the funding package, saying it contained too much unfairness in the allocation of the budget, also sought to delay proceedings by demanding a formal recorded vote, but was overruled. The bill passed the Assembly but failed to become law by President Rain's decision. Unfair campaign finance bill crushed. A new bill that further expands on the unfairness of our election system has been approved by the Grand National Assembly and was later vetoed by President Rain. Rain deserves credit for crushing the undemocratic proposal, even though it came from his own party and would have benefited himself. The bill sought to change the rules of eligibility. Alright, okay. The same proposal would have resulted. Okay. President Rain showed us that he can go against his own party when it needs to be done. Yay! The radicals now like me on this. Kirut expresses approval of social democracy. The Republic of Kirut congratulated President Anton Rain on his recent election victory in Sorland. Chancellor Enos Adriumer of Kirut extolled Sorland's democratic process and peaceful transition of power, emphasizing shared values. Kirut expressed positive outlook to continue diplomatic collaboration and mutual growth with Sorland. Interesting. All right, back to our country. Invest in mega infrastructure. This is to invest in one of two planned mega infrastructure projects. Invest in mega infrastructure. The Ministry of Economy has put forward two bold plans for mega infrastructure projects that would help with the economic recession in the long term. Investing in projects of this scale will take up some portion of our budget, but could prove worthwhile if accomplished successfully. Invest in a mega infrastructure project. Discussion for the potential infrastructure projects. The view towards the Marken Sea from Black Haven was nothing short of exquisite. Seaside state residence, fittingly named the Blue Mansion, was large, fine, and accommodating. But enjoying the luxurious mansion wasn't the main reason for our visit. We gathered the economic team here to discuss the new infrastructure investment project. Half an hour had already passed since the start of the meeting. Unfortunately, I did not even have the chance to have my usual afternoon coffee. Looking at the view from the windows, I let my mind drift for a couple of seconds. Simon's voice brought me back to the ongoing discussion. Mr. President, we need to focus on boosting the economy as quickly as possible. One of the fastest ways to achieve this is through infrastructure projects. What can we focus on? On the one hand, businessmen are complaining about the slow logistical rail network between Holsworth and Blackhaven. Elias started talking as soon as Simon took a breath. On the other hand, citizens are criticizing the lack of a proper highway connection between Blackhaven and Arvory. Narrow roads by the seaside are not only dangerous but also difficult to traverse. Okay, we need to pick the most profitable option for economic growth because, like, we are thinking here long term, which is obviously connecting our two most economically powerful cities. It is not business people who are suffering now, but ordinary folk. It really matters that our first economic act accomplishes something tangible. We must prove our capabilities. People must know that this administration can get things done. Must improve the economy of the nation and bring it out of recession. To that point, I defined two important projects for your attention: the H3 highway project and the L1 high speed railway project. Mr. Hall repositioned himself on his chair. The ministry can only support one project at a time with our current capacity and budget. Let's move on to the details of each. So, which one do you want to hear about first? The H3 highway project. H3 highway project aims to improve the abysmal state of the road network in the Agnoland region bordering Agnolia, and the area is home to several million Agno, Swordish, and Swordish citizens who currently feel neglected. There are no proper highway connections to and from Agnoland. The mayor of Arvory, Eric Neal, has been asking for a bigger budget to develop the regional infrastructure. He told us that even trucks are having a hard time traveling through the main roads. The increased traffic is causing trouble for people commuting in and out of the region. I agree, this could also hurt the local businesses. It is, bless their souls. I'm happy we're thinking alike on the matter. Let's take a more detailed look at the upgrade proposal. The map. Ilyas has pointed at Lacan. The H3 highway begins here in Lacan, and from there it leads to Linker. From there it goes all the way to Arvory. As a result, the road network towards the Agnolian capital, Stalport, will also improve substantially. She paused and leaned forward in her chair. As mayor, I saw the central government continuously neglect our country's Agnosordish dominated regions. Is this administration going to continue that kind of negligence? We should no longer neglect a key region for our trade with Agnolia. Sure, but most good flows to Lakavin and Holsor, which means we should give more importance to logistics there. It has to be pointed out that the highway would be less beneficial in the short term. I have to disagree. It will increase the speed of transportation throughout the region. Our citizens will be quite pleased if we successfully accomplish this. Besides, if we enter trade talks with Agnolia, they will see the investment as a positive sign. Very interesting. But I want to hear about the railway project. Your president Alfonso failed to deliver on his campaign promise, but now we have the opportunity to start the construction of a groundbreaking railway project. As you know, our current trains cannot meet the standards of today. As many other countries adopt new electric engine technologies to power up their trains, we're falling behind. News about the new electric trains in United Fontana has piqued our businesses' interest. They too want to transport resources and material from Holsworth to Lackavan with great speed and efficiency. This could also empower business and bring investments. This should be our priority: growth and development optimization. Our plan is to upgrade the old L1 line from Holsworth to Lackavan. It will transform into a high speed railway. The plant construction starts right here at the capital. From there, it will go to Andrika first, then connect to Gelsvik, after which it will reach Lagavin, our economic powerhouse. He leaned forward. The L1 will significantly boost the economies of the newly linked cities and even the rural areas in between Lagavin is our primary port. Lagavin is our primary port, so the goods unloaded there will be transported to Holsworth much faster. Yes, we should link these rural areas in the middle with the major cities of Sorna. For the wealthy and middle classes of these regions, but for the poor tiers who wouldn't be able to afford the increased ticket prices. The mayor of Andrika, Corten Leste, also requested this project to be prioritized. Businessmen in the region will be very content, which in turn will increase investments and employment. Therefore, I will recommend the L1 high speed rail project. Yes, What will your final decision be, Mr. President? Hmm. In my original run, I did this highway thing, but then I'm thinking like mega infrastructures are important, but then you have the already developed center, and then you have the underdeveloped rural areas, and I think, especially if we're going to think about this strategically and create allies in the region by remaining allies in the region, I think we can get on a better negotiation foot with Agnolia if we let's go with poorer regions. Let's say on the H3 highway project to improve the infrastructure in our poorer regions. Thank God, I knew you would see a reason. Negotiations will begin in the middle of this year. We will be able to award the contract to a corporation of your choice. The ministry estimates that construction will be completed in 2 years if every step going forward is executed successfully. Thank you all for your contribution and thoughts. Good. Contributions and thoughts. See you soon, Mr. Rain. Have a nice day, Mr. President. Evening settled on the beautiful coastline of Latvia. Okay. Invest in Arcasian company stocks. Priority buy stocks from an Arcasian company. A personal investment opportunity has been relayed by Mr. Manger, an experienced stockbroker in Ventry City, Arcadia, selling valuable shares of Armadine Industries, an up-and-coming electronics manufacturing company. We could invest or let the opportunity pass. I will buy 1,000 shares because maybe it will give us some returns and we could use it for later. Right. Now, reception at the inaugural ball. I had just finished buttoning up my suit jacket when the doorbell rang. The presidential guard had arrived to pick us up for the inaugural ball. The ball was a 3-decade-old tradition, breathlessly anticipated by politicians, bureaucrats, and the press. All eyes were about to be on me. I called on Monica to get the children ready. Looking in the mirror, I straightened my tie and took a deep breath. Tonight there would be no turning back. Suddenly, Diana hugged me from behind, startling me a little. Monica had fixed her hair into an elaborate braid, woven through her ribbons. Papa, Mama told me it's time to go. My God, why did I say it in a Super Mario voice? Hello, darling. I'm ready. Where is your brother? I think Frank is still upstairs. I'm moving on. I'm gonna use that Mario voice for that. She shrugged. It was almost time to leave. The big ball was starting in less than an hour. Now, where's my first lady? Monica came down the stairs. She was wearing a simple yet elegant beige sheath dress and short heels. Her hair had been neatly pinned into a chignon, showing off a pearl earrings I had given her our 15th anniversary. All those years she had stayed by my side. Now we were about to begin the most challenging chapter in our lives yet. How do you do, Mr. President? I kissed her hand. She extended a gloved hand and I raised it to my lips. Monica, my love, you look as gorgeous as the day we met. Now there's that charm that got you elected. Frank trudged down the stairs. This thing itches. Frank tugged at the collar of his new tuxedo. He seemed ill at ease. We good to go, Frank? Yes, the sooner we go, the sooner it'll be over, right? Papa, are these people going to be around us from now on? She pointed at the presidential guards at the door of the house. Yes, stolen most important family needs extra protection. people are our friends, Dina. It's alright, baby. They're here to make sure nothing bad happens to your papa or his family. Monica held Dina's hand. Together, flanked by the guards, we walked out the door. Halfway to the car, Frank stopped abruptly and turned towards me. Dad, do I really have to go? Couldn't I stay home instead? I'm nervous myself, Frank, but I'd feel a lot more confident with my son by my side. Frank smiled reluctantly. Well, when you put it like that, sure, let's go. The presidential car showed us the way as red and blue lights flashed around us. Serge, my driver, ushered us into our armored limousine. The motorcade started moving towards the palace. I gazed out the window, deep in thought. Anton, what are you thinking about? With all that's been happening, I'm wondering if I made the right choice. I was thinking that we've come a long way together, haven't we? Yes, we have, and there's still so much that we'll accomplish side by side. Just remember, no matter what happens, the children and I will always be here for you. I'm going to help Papa fix everything. Frank rolled his eyes. I know you will, honey. We'll see, darling. This means a great deal to me. After what seemed like just a few minutes, the convoy slowed to a halt. Serge rolled down the limousine's soundproof partition. We are here, sir. Hope you enjoy the drive. Much appreciated. How are you today, Serge? I'm just as good as I can be. But today is your day, sir. I'm glad you are in charge now. Serge is a wonderful man. Serge is a wonderful man. You know, my entire family voted for you. Thank you and your family. I'm here with all of your support. No reason to thank me, sir. You are the one who sparked a glimmer of hope in us all. Serge opened the door for me. The normally imposing palace was festooned with garish banners that nearly made it look cheerful. A line of shiny luxury sedans stretched around it. Politicians, bureaucrats, and celebrities, the creme de la creme of the swordland elite, streamed into the building. Good luck out there, Mr. President. I'll see you on the train. I stepped out and immediately found myself surrounded by loud voices and camera phones. Hordes of eager journalists thrust their portable microphones my way. My guards fended most of them off. At one moment, I managed to dodge them and cornered me. I recognized the Swedish Broadcasting Company logo on their lanyard. Mr. President, Mr. President, do you plan on working together with the opposition parties on the expected constitutional reforms? My message will bring real change. Does that mean you don't plan on working together? Do you think you share no common ground with the other parties? I did not say that. One more question. One of your first acts as president was to veto a campaign finance law that would have deprived small parties of public funds while increasing those channeled to your own. Are we seeing the beginning of a more egalitarian administration? Yes, no political. Absolutely. Whether the bill is proposed by our own party or not, I would use my veto on it if it goes against the interests of our democracy. That's enough, ma'am, said one of the guards while nudging the reporter away from me. The path through the crowd was now open. We quickly made our way to the entrance of the palace. At the same time, a dozen fireworks went off. The entrance was decorated with beautiful ribbons in the swordland's colors of white, yellow, and maroon. A lush maroon carpet had been rolled down the stairs. We entered the lobby and joined the throngs of people making their way towards the ballroom. Behind me, I heard a familiar voice. There they are, the most beautiful family in Seoul. Uncle Peter. Hi, Uncle Peter. It's great to see you. You two are growing faster than I am getting wiser. Are you sure you've gotten any wiser, Peter? Maybe not. After all, I'm still sticking with you. Happy to see a familiar face, Peter. Evelyn. Peter's wife, Evelyn, approached us and shook our hands with a firmness that belied her delicate features. Congratulations, Anton. I have to say, the results were clear to me from the very beginning. Thank you. We both worked hard to make it happen. We know you did. You deserve the position. And tonight, we reap the rewards. I hope you will show the same enthusiasm on the job. Of course I will. You know me. I work as hard as I play. He gave a short smile that looked halfway genuine. He seemed uncomfortable. Monica, how are you? You barely said a word. I'm more than relieved to have this roller coaster ride over with, but of course, now the real work begins. Ah, yes, managing the help, planning parties, daily trips to the salon to look your best for foreign dignitaries. Don't be so old fashioned, Evelyn. I plan to use my power as First Lady to advance the position of women throughout Shoreland. Equal rights for our sex are long overdue. Wouldn't you say, Anton? As long as they don't burn the ghost, am I right, Peter? Up to a point, yes, they must neglect their responsibilities to their husbands and families. Absolutely. Together to achieve that. Monica flashed me a smile. Ina suddenly jumped in between us and tugged on my sleeve. Papa, can we go? I want to see the ballroom. We are having a conversation. Of course, darling. Let's not delay anymore. Move to the ballroom. Inside, we were yet again surrounded by a noisy crowd, but this time it was the politicians who sought to appease the new authority in Shoreland. We spent the next few hours shaking hands, joining various conversations, some serious, some superficial, and making speeches. We finally settled down at our dinner table with the vectors. As the band started playing some slow jazz tunes. Oof, that was tiring. You have to get used to it. Well, suddenly a loud banging noise echoed from outside the ballroom, then another one, and another. The musicians stopped playing. Everyone in the room was looking around in confusion. Peter and I turned towards each other, realization dawning on both of our faces. Fireworks? No, gunshots! As soon as Monica heard the word, she lunged from her seat to shield Monica and the kids. I threw myself on Monica, Diana, and Frank to shield them. Papa, what's happening? I knew it. We never should have gone. Chaos broke out as some guests flung themselves under their tables and others ran towards the door screaming. Dina burst into tears while Frank tried to comfort her, hiding the fear in his own eyes. Three more gunshots rang loudly. Mr. President, are you alright? Mr. President, get down! Are you alright? Carl Greaser, head of the soldiers' police force, was running towards us with three more police officers in decorated uniforms. They all had their guns drawn. As soon as he made it to us and saw that we were unharmed, he let out a big sigh of relief. Thank God. Status report. 1 second, Mr. President. He turned around quickly to his men. Check the perimeter now. Call Jensen, follow my lead. We will bring them to the safe room. He now turned to Monica, Evelyn, and the children and spoke in softer voice. Do not worry, the situation is now under control. Please follow me. He promptly followed Carl through the winding halls and corridors of the palace. His men still had their guns drawn, but said nothing to ease the tension. On the way, Peter made an attempt to break the silence. What a fucking night. Say that again. Carl turned to us with a serious face as we were about to round a corner. Quiet, please. Sorry, I talk when I get nervous. Peter, shut up. Carl flipped a switch on the wall and the panel opened, revealing a hidden staircase leading to a large reinforced door. Inside, a set of emergency lights flickered on. The safe room was comfortable and spacious, with expensive looking leather sofas. Small security monitors on the wall displayed grainy footage of each room in the palace. There was a boardroom and a pantry containing enough provisions to last us months. Monica and Evelyn set the children down and started wiping their tears. car stepped away from us and made a few radio calls. When he was done, he turned to me and Peter. Damn God, do I have clowns for a security force? We're under attack? Who's attacking? What is going on? So, what's the status? Carl's radio suddenly crackled to life. Every second felt like an eternity as he pressed on his ear to the receiver. It felt silent and eternity. Good news, we are not in any danger at the moment. The situation has been dealt with and the perimeter has been secured by the guards and the police. He glanced towards Monica everything okay. If I may, sir. Just towards a more private corner in the room, he started speaking even quieter. This is what we know so far. We have confirmed that two people were gunned down in front of the palace. The attacker is one of them, and we have reasons to believe he was working alone. He fired three shots at an MP, one of the head and two at the body, basically killing him. The central guards that in place immediately shot and killed the attacker. He has not been identified yet and will require an investigation. The MP that was killed was identified as Bernard Circus. This is huge, Anton. This will cause a lot of problems. A lot of problems. Peter pulled out two cigarettes and handed me one. He then turned to Evelyn. I could hear him trying to reassure her that everything was going to be alright. Monica was still trying to tend to Dina and Frank. Dina as Frank paced the room, mumbling they should have stayed home. I thought I sat down beside my wife and children. We are safe. I'll make sure everything's going to be fine. I can't be sure of anything anymore, Tom. Lit my cigarette and took a deep drag. I was going to see this through and keep my family safe at all costs. Flushed the cigarette in the ashtray. Honestly, this is cool. Show you what connections you have with factions. Was this here before or was this new? The Grand National Assembly. Let's look at the news. MP shot, nation in shock. Sorland has been shocked by grave news today as an elected member of parliament has been shot dead in a suspected political assassination. Police sirens were heard around the clock today as the whole sword police force increased security measures around the capital. The fact that such a violent act happened at the heart of the capital during the new president's inauguration celebration has worried many citizens. Red Youth has reported to have promised revenge. This seems like it has the potential to be a spark. This was stolen into political violence of the 1920s. Rain not interested in cooperation. President Rain shut down the call for cooperation with Franz Dichter ahead of the inauguration ball, implying that he shares no values with the opposition regarding the. What the fuck, you little asshole? That's not what I said. Oh, fuck off. Leave the report. Security increase. Security measures at the capital have been heightened after the murder of Bernard Circus. The mayor of Holsworth reports that everything is under control. The security around the Maroon Palace has been increased with the combined efforts of the Holsworth Police Department and the Presidential Guard. Additionally, the entrance procedures to the palace has been revised with advice from security professionals. The police chief Carl Greaser reported that an investigation has been launched on the murder of Bernard Circus. Emergency meeting situation room. Let's check on Discord.